Your soil test told you had enough nutrients. But the reality is that your plants can and will still starve. I know, it sounds dramatic, kind of like my dog in a tennis ball. That in and of itself is traumatic. But here's the soil science truth. A soil test is a snapshot in time. It's not a live feed of where your soil is at. And that's coming from a soil scientist who has looked and read a lot of soil tests in her time. You guys, the geek group, sends me your soil tests all the time. So today we're actually going to talk about why it matters. This applies to you whether or not you've ever gotten a soil test done, because it's going to teach you the nuance of soil nutrients in your soil, regardless of raised beds, in grounds, etc., and so forth. I think the first really important thing to think about is that soil is not a pantry. Your plant does not just simply walk into the pantry and pick and choose the multivitamin, the protein, the carbs, the etc., and so forth. It's the equivalent to a nightclub. So if your plant is wearing short skirts and has a set of double Ds, she's getting preference over the fungi who's just a guy who's lame. Or maybe you're competing for that VIP section in the nightclub, and then the real competition is on, because the redheads, hands down, are going to beat out the blondes, the brunettes, all of them. We all know that's so far from the truth, it's not even funny. But you know what? That's the only time in my life I've ever been able to say that, so I'm just going to go with it, okay? If you don't know who I am, hi, hello, my name's Ashley. I have a bachelor's of science in soil science. I like to take said science, apply it to all things plants. And like I said, today's video, we're going to look at why a soil test is kind of like a trap. The volume, high nutrient value, is not directly related to how much is available to your plant for uptake, unless, of course, they are redhead, short-skirted, and double Ds. Then, they're fine. Let's first talk about the snapshot problem. So the reality is that your soil nutrient test is going to say phosphorus, exceptional, calcium, sufficient, magnesium, adequate. But that is the total nutrients, not the nutrients that is necessarily available at that point in time. Furthermore, your plant specifically only has access to the nutrients that is directly in that root zone. And more specifically than that, it is only able to observe ions diluted or suspended within the water solution of your soil system. So you can see how we start here with nitrogen, and then we narrow down to nitrogen that's bioavailable, and then nitrogen that's within the root zone, and then nitrogen that is currently dissolved in water. And then you have to have the root system that's releasing the exudates and healthy enough to uptake the nutrients. And it just, the available, true available nutrients for that plant really, truly begins to shrink fast. Your root health, the size of your roots, the microbial activity, the amount of moisture, the soil temp, the ambient temp, the age of the plant, all of these things factor into how much nutrients is really, truly available for your plant. So here's the really spicy part. We actually have 3 mechanisms that work against us. We have nutrient fixation, we have nutrient lockup, and then we have nutrient immobilization. So for example, you can have calcium and magnesium in your soil. Actually, if you're in the prairie provinces, it's highly likely you have an exceptional amount of calcium and magnesium in your soil, way more than you could ever do it, because we have limestone as our base parent material, which means if you're calcium, magnesium deficient, you're not. You're actually got a pH problem very likely, because all nutrients play in the realm of different pHs. So if your soil is not in the right pH range, which if you, again, live in the prairie provinces, for example, you likely have a very alkaline soil, so you probably aren't right in a wheelhouse. You don't have a nutrient that is available. Oh, hi. Yes. You were at the start of the show today. So what this can mean is you can have a lot of calcium, a lot of magnesium, none of which is available for the plant solely due to the pH. It is locked up. It is immobilized. It is not available. The next rule of thumb is that microbes are not decorations, they are mediators. So if your soil test comes back saying you have sufficient levels of organic material or high levels of organic material, along with high levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, That is a very small part of the story. The reality here is that the microbes actually need to be present for something called mineralization. The process of mineralization is microbes taking that organic material and making it something that the plants can eat. Organic material, organic fertilizers, are not just simply nutrients sitting there with a big eat me sign on it. There's a lot of processing that has to take place. That is the reason why conventional fertilizers were made, to be able to sustain a population of several billion rather than just a couple billion. Now, microbial activity is affected again by a number of different things similar to the plants themselves: the moisture, the organic material available, the soil temp, the ambient temp, the amount of solarization, etc., and so forth. And where this is probably the most apparent to us gardeners is in the spring. When we transplant things outdoors, we tend to get a lot of stressed out looking plants, stunted growth, stopped growth, that sort of thing. And these are all great indicators for the problem that is our plants, for the problem that is nutrient uptake due to low microbial activity. So this time of year is when we tend to see very low microbial activity, and we tend to see a lot of nutrient issues pop up. It has nothing to do with the amount of nutrients in your soil. It has nothing to do with the microbial activity that will be the future of that soil. It has nothing to do with the plant. It doesn't have to do much with how you transplanted, more so when you transplanted, which if you want to know more about that, hit that subscribe button. Check out this video. I will link somewhere here up above, because that's a great description of when to transplant, how to transplant, etc., and so forth, which is, again, hugely important when it comes to your yields. Now, for those of you that actually have sent your soil sample to a lab, if you were to send that same soil sample, collected at the same time in the same area from the same depth, etc., and so forth, you would actually end up with two different results. Now, soil scientists are not scamming you. And maybe I'm biased in the sense of saying that, but I can promise you that is not the case. And that's because soil testing is not this exact method. It is a calibrated estimate. What this means is that if you don't use the same lab every single time, you're going to have varying results. And it's going to be really difficult for you to actually make adjustments in your garden according to the results that you're receiving. So if you're going to go down the route of professional soil testing, you really truly want to make sure you're using the same ruler every single time, because the calibration here is incredibly key to understanding if the mechanisms you're using, for example, changing that soil pH, adding more organic material, adding conventional fertilizers, maybe your crop rotations, that sort of stuff, is, again, highly dependent on using the same sort of measurement tool, because the calibration, the type of tool, the mechanism, the actual person doing it, all can change those variabilities, which is what I truly do love about plant and soil science, is that it is so dependent on so many different factors, which why it's really important to collect a lot of information from a lot of different sources. You know, if you're watching the internet, you're watching influencers, don't just watch me, watch all of us, because we all will have little small takeaways that are hugely important to your success. That does not mean soil testing is completely useless. I've done videos on the rapid test method, which if you have done the rapid test method, you can actually send me photos of that on Instagram, and I will very happily tell you kind of where things lie or lay. And then you have your options of different types of labs. I don't want you to disregard this as completely useless, whether you're doing it at home or you're sending it away. That is kind of the equivalent of saying thermometers are useless because they're not going to tell me tomorrow's temperature, because they're not. The purpose of it is as a diagnostic tool to determine if what you're doing, the practices you're implementing, are making changes. So keep in mind next time you think your soil is useless, that it may not be the case. You may have a lot of other things going on. Using something like the rapid test is incredibly important and useful. Sending it away is incredibly important and useful. I don't want you to get hung up on the results, if we're being completely honest. But what I do want you to use it for is like a map, not the 12 commandments. Unless you're a redhead, then you can use it like 12 commandments are used, which is very lax to say the least. I'm joking, only kind of. But if you truly do want to learn more about just soil health and how to achieve really good soil health, hit that subscribe button. This is my most recent video, and that is what Google says you should watch next. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.